What up, everybody? It's your boy Evan, one half of MF Pearl. We got the other half sitting behind the camera, making sure that we rolling. We got David back there. Oh yeah, he don't have a mic today. I have his mic. It's one of those where we got two guests in the room, volume 2, live at MFHQ. Disclaimer. Live at MFHQ is in fact not recorded live. It's actually a pre-recorded program. This episode contains sexually explicit content, so feel free to do what you wish with that information. If you could be so kind of like, follow, and subscribe from me. We go a very long way. New episodes every Wednesday. Now back to the show. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Episode 21.
Dang.
21. Or 22, I think. We need to see how it works, but I'm pretty certain it's 21. We've been doing some redacting, but we're starting to get a little sturdy now with the season. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for supporting. Make sure you guys keep showing love. You can find all of our full-length episodes with the visuals on our YouTube, of course. You can also find them at mfpearl.com, or you can stream the podcast on, your usuals, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. You could also keep up to date with us and all of our latest updates on the fly through our Instagram. That's where we stay the most active. So make sure that you guys keep showing love so that we can keep growing the platform, keep getting our guests in front of more people's eyes, sharing our stories to the world. You know what I'm saying? So let's get back into the show. Today, we got two of my good friends. I first met them at one event. I accidentally got faded at that one. David remembers it was the first time that we ever went to, I forgot what the whole, plaza was called. But it was out in Socorro, and that is honestly the launching point of me even having an idea of what's going on in terms of the creative community out there. So there was many times where we'd hang out. I'd go ahead and just get to enjoy a lot of their good food out at the truck. They've come a long way since then. I'm wondering, some updates on that too. We'll see. We're gonna dive into this conversation. It's already happened. I'm barely coming in. The conversation's already here and gone. Anyways, today, episode 21, live at the HQ. I want to welcome Gabe and Mal from CAFE PIRO. Yeah. There's an applause right there. There's an applause.
I heard it.
Yo. What up,
Groovy.
fam? I'm sorry for the delay. We're here. We're good.
It was meant to be.
The beanie's on.
Yes.
I'm not sweaty. And we're good to go. Yo, so a lot of our audience is pretty mutual. We got a few mutuals, but for the people that don't know who you two are, can you guys just go ahead and give an introduction to the business that you have within Socorro and El Paso?
Sure. I'm Gabe Padilla, and we have Cafe Piro, which is a small coffee shop restaurant in Socorro. We started last year, and it took us quite a bit to get it up and rolling. It was a restaurant before, and it took us 18 months to get it to opening, just because it needed a lot of work. And you are?
I'm Mel Padilla. I'm the other partner of Cafe Piro. Aside from Cafe Piro, we also do community workshops. So we host ceramic workshops at the cafe as well. So we introduce a little bit of art in there along with the food.
And then it's just that too, right? Is Casa del Humo currently retared, forever retired? How do you guys see it?
I don't want to say forever.
Yeah,
I still love her. She's still parked in our driveway.
Yeah. Okay, so then right now it's just those two are the main focuses, though.
Mm-hmm.
And then
and other stuff that we just started getting into.
Hell yeah, we'll get into it a little bit if we can.
Yeah.
The workshops, weren't they across the street? You said that they were in the restaurant?
Where the workshops are in the cafe.
Okay.
They're during our closed hours, and then we do have a studio across the street that'll eventually be open to the public.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. So you guys weren't even using that yet?
We use it as workspace, so that's where everything gets fired, everything gets painted over there, glazed, and eventually we'll introduce the public to it.
Heck yeah. So for me, I don't even think I have that deep of an understanding just yet. I've talked to you guys about it in passing a little bit through our dog walkers, but there's more to Cafe Piro than just it being a restaurant, and even just having a big focus on the culinary. Can you guys tell me a little bit more about the story behind Cafe Piro? Where does the name come from? How do you guys value the location that you guys are at? Stuff like that.
Go on.
Yeah, my
want me
boy
to-
Gabe.
The name?
Sure. So Piro is my ancestral tribe. After the Pueblo Revolt in 1680, they came from Socorro, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the area back then was Senecu, and they renamed it Socorro, just the same as the city that they were fleeing from. They came with Franciscan monks, and they built a lot of the infrastructure, which is Socorro, the acequias for the irrigation, the mission trail, the churches. The state placard that's outside of the church now reads that the original church was dedicated to the Piros. It was built by natives. And so we're not a federally recognized tribe, but we're trying to keep the name alive. And that's really all that we want. We're not seeking federal recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we don't want people to forget that there was that tribe, this native tribe from this area. And we're still here. There's
Yeah.
a few, and it's mostly family, but they're still alive.
Yeah.
And so when we opened the cafe, we didn't know what direction we wanted to go in. It was kind of sounding like the part 2 of Casa del Humo. But it took us so long to open it up that it was really a blessing in disguise, because we got to really see the community and see that there was a need for healthier food. And that wasn't something that I really felt that I was giving the community when I was, at Casa del Humo. And also to connect with culture and just with your neighbors. And so just slowly over those 18 months where we were building out the cafe, we were just kind of also evolving and honing the idea of what we wanted Cafe Piro to be. And so after 18 months, we came to that conclusion, what it was going to be. Like, it was going to be about growing community and getting to know people and going back in time and working with the land, respecting the land, using ingredients that are local. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Can you remind me how you said you found out about Piro? Like, were your parents just like pretty active about like teaching you about it?
No. My grandmother actually frowned upon it. And so, and my mom, when she grew up in that household, it was told to them that they wouldn't speak Spanish, that they were going to assimilate to the white man. That's the way that they were going to survive. And so there was no Spanish speaking. There wasn't any real tradition that my grandmother wanted to keep. And it wasn't really until she was in her final time here that she started divulging more information and talking about it. Mm-hmm. I have a cousin that's been more active, and he was pretty much the only one. During the pandemic, that's really when a lot of focus came in with a lot of the family, with my uncle and aunts and my mom. And so we've been deep diving into the history and just anything that we can get our hands on, and meeting with other Piros is really, cathartic.
Yeah. Mel, how do you relate to the Piro tribe? Do you have any like ties to it as well, or is your ties with Gabe?
It's all through marriage. I think we all connect a little bit towards our indigenous ancestors. My family comes from Chihuahua, and then my grandfather is from San Luis Potosi. So we have this blood in us, and so there's a yearning to like keep tradition alive and to honor our ancestors as much as possible. And so that's where I join in with Gabe, and not only through marriage, but through also the blood that I carry.
Yeah, and like the values.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna say? Does the menu translate like directly to the foods that your tribe, like the tribe goes ahead and regularly eats?
No, just more in the tradition of using what's there.
Okay.
And what's in season. We try to stay with that as much as we can. Also, storytelling, like we had a dessert on the menu before that was called the Abuela, and it was a story with something that my grandmother used to make us as kids. Mm-hmm. So We just are connecting with ancestors on different levels. We have the Tres Hermanas now, pozole, and in indigenous culture, the three sisters are bean, corns, and squash. And you grow them all together. They're three sisters that help each other out. The beans put nutrients into the ground. They grow up the corn stalks. The corn stalks keep out pests. And then the leaves from the squash provide shade. And so you grow those three things together, and that's known in indigenous culture. So we have that on the menu. But as we learn more about it, we implement names like the mole tulae, which means autumn, for instance. And so in Piro, so we've learned some words along the way, and we implement them when we can on the menu.
Yeah. Decorating and creating the menu, building out the entire message and story behind the restaurant. Was it natural learning, or were you guys kind of intentionally going out to try to like figure out more things that you can tie to the restaurant?
Well, during those, since we took 18 months to open, there was like this, we kind of had to like sit back and slow things down because our timeline was constantly prolonged because the building was old, or even the build out itself. We had different contractors that came through. So we had to take a step back and then like really hone in on the values that we wanted to introduce into the cafe. And so that came with learning what our hands could do. And so that's where the pottery came into play. And all the pottery that you eat on when you go into the cafe is made by our
plates.
hands. Yeah.
I love those tortilla
I have a
plates.
tortilla
When you
series.
first dropped the tortilla plate, that shit was fire.
And it brings you back to, your childhood. When I grew up eating, my grandma would always be like, todo va con una tortilla. You don't eat with a fork, you eat with a tortilla. So that's where the tortilla series came alive. But not only with the ceramics, but also the staining of the tables. We knew that we wanted to do everything like as close as to how our family or our ancestors would do things. So we wanted to do everything in a most natural way possible. So we stained our tables with natural ingredients, using some natural ingredients. And so every table and chair has a story or an ingredient that comes with it.
Yeah.
These are just things that we were able to do because we did slow down. And so that's kind of what the cafe, there's like this concept of when you come into it, like you're kind of forced to slow things down a little bit. Like we all have conversations with like each patron or each person that comes into the cafe. We have conversations with them, or they'll ask what the Tres Hermanas are, or so everything pretty much has a story to it. You're kind of in this space that allows you to like slow things down, like stop time almost.
Yeah. The one plate that I've had is the lamb skewers. Is there a story with every dish? Because that seems like a staple that kind of just been there. Is it still there?
No.
It's not there no more?
Well, we changed our hours, so we're only open during the morning, and we have breakfast.
Oh, well, what time do you guys close?
At 2 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then at 3 p.m., 10 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday.
We're going to have all that.
So it's a different menu now.
Text in the video. It's going to look nice and clean.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So it's more like lean towards breakfast?
Yes.
And I guess like an early lunch, if you will?
Breakfast and coffee, yes, and then just specials.
So this is why you leaned into when you described it as a coffee shop.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then now it gives us more free time in the evenings for the ceramic workshops and like private dinners.
Yeah. Okay.
Concerts.
And then, how long ago did that change happen?
At the beginning of the month.
Beginning of the month?
Yeah.
We just hit our 1 year, so.
You wanted to have a change up?
Yeah. Well, we
tested it for a year.
We kind of took the year to introduce people what we could do with these natural ingredients. I mean, these very fresh local ingredients, and it gave the community a chance to get to know us. And so now we can do that on a smaller scale where it's like very zero waste, and we're able to introduce that where it's like just a 5-6 course meal at an intimate seating when it's only 12 people now. Yeah. When
it comes to picking out the ingredients and stuff, you guys have already had experience with Casa del Humo, correct? Even with them, I mean, I'd imagine it's gonna be local, right? Just so it's like the most efficient way to operate, rather than getting stuff shipped to you, having to wait for it.
We don't. It's not everything. We try to go as local as we can.
Okay.
It's not everything, but what we can get. Like, for instance, from Full Circle Mushrooms, from Bodega Loya. We
We were talking about.
yeah. So, but we don't subscribe like with a purveyor like Cisco or, other names.
These big names.
So we go out and we source stuff. And when we get to the stores, it's like, well, what's in season? Like if it's a certain fruit that's in season, then we can implement that in our tabla, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Even the
moles.
drinks, yeah. Like usually blueberry. Well, not usually, but I was just talking about one of our drinks that we used to have on the menu. It would have blueberries, but it's kind of rough to do blueberries in a drink right now because of how they're not in season. They're kind of expensive. So we just go with what's happening at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we're working in seasons with the menu? Do you, and then right now you also said you just hit the 1 year at the beginning of the month. Do you also look at like the restaurant's like era phase beyond the menu in that sort of sense, like it's seasons as well?
Yeah.
Because like it could also be easy to just see the restaurant as like the constant, and then like the menu is the one thing that changes.
I think it'd be hard for us to keep things so constant. I mean, Gabriel and I are both neurodivergent, so our brains are constantly always moving, and we'd get bored. We'd get bored if everything stayed the same. And I think it's like one of those stigmas, especially about being in business, that you have to keep things the same. And so we're kind of like changing that dynamic when we can just be like, we're going to put whatever we want on the menu, and it's gonna be with what's going on now and what's fresh, but we get to choose. And so we're not just following this thing where we have to keep a set menu, and anything can change, and it's okay to invite that change, and especially when it comes to food.
Because that also creates a demand for the providers, and that was one of the conversations that I had with Jimena at Full Circle was, I'm going to ask you for whatever you have, and if that's what you have, then that's what I'm going with. But there's never going to be a time where I have this set order and I'm expecting for you to have this every week for me. You grow this. It's my job to put it on the plate and do whatever I can to make it look good, taste good. Yeah.
So just like remaining open-minded, but what's been the hardest thing to stay open-minded about when it comes to this? Like, cause there's got to be like a financial thing or like some like boring part of it that you just have to be like, damn, like okay, what can we just like make a routine so that we don't got to think about it too much? This is something that I'm trying to learn a little bit more on, like just just generally starting up your own project business.
I think that either way, like we're not keeping a consistent menu, but I think if you stay consistent as a person,
there's like
and
the service.
And you're constantly showing people. When people go in there, I feel like there's a warmth, and to me it's because it's home, right? But when I go in there, I make sure to make people feel like they matter, because what you eat matters and who feeds you matters, and like what you're putting in your body matters. So I think that there's a warmth because there's somebody that's there that cares for what's going inside your body, or who's going out and like finding these ingredients that are going to be good for you. And so that's one thing that we like introduce or like push when people go in there, is that they matter. Yeah. They matter. And so if you stay consistent with that and you show people that you care for them, then there's going to be like, that's like success for me, we've reached a person at least through food.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to going to go get the ingredients, how you guys now have employees, you have a team now for CAFE PIRO. Is it just you two who goes to pick out the ingredients though?
We have one employee pretty much.
For right now, we have one.
Small team then.
Yeah.
But that adds to the family. Like, okay, what would be your guys' realistic cap? Like, what would be, okay, we don't need no more employees, dude. Like, this is...
Well, just because of the time change.
Just a couple more, maybe.
Yeah.
We're just going, like, we had more employees, and then it kind of just worked out how it needed to with the schedule change. Like, one has a full-time job, one went back to school, so it happened when it needed to, and it's kind of just been flowing that way. But yeah, we have one employee at the moment, and like bringing on one more at the beginning of the month. But that's because things are shifting. Mm-hmm.
That's good though.
And we worked that way in the food truck for the most part, where it was just her and I, and so
yeah, for sure,
we're used to it.
Let's talk about the workshops a bit. Let's where did you like see the opportunity in that?
There was this one vacation we took, and we got to play with pottery for the first time, and it was in an Airbnb experience in Oregon, and it was just this beautiful experience to be able to put our hands in clay, and like it really takes you back, just like food has this memory where it takes you back, so does clay has this memory of, and that's one of the things that I'm very vocal about. I feel like clay takes you back to being a kid. It like really like shines a fire on your inner child because you're playing with mud, and you're getting to create with your hands. And so that's another one of the things that really slows things down. Like you have to work with your hands, and our workshop is all hand building. It's one of my favorite methods. You're forced to use your fingers. You're forced to play with the clay and feel the texture and really get to know her. And so yeah, when we started the cafe, we knew that we wanted to have our own plates, so we made all of that. And then as time went on, we wanted to allow other people to have access to clay too. So it's just about, I'm not a teacher. I feel like I'm just a guide. I have the material. I'm here to help you fire your piece.
Come join me while I create.
Come play with some clay. Like that's what I tell people. I teach them the method, and then they're like the artist that day. And so it's really cool to see people just like flourish in something that they made with their hand. And
I feel like that's how I was when I used to work at Target Optical, because I used to have to teach people how to put on contacts, but I didn't know how to put on contacts myself. So I knew the method, and I just let the artist be the artist.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
Hey, I'll show you what to do, but you got to do it.
But you do it, yeah, and it's cool. It's cool to see people, and that's all that this is that we're just giving people an access to clay.
Yeah, and in your eyes, when you guys have something like this with workshops, being paired with Cafe Piro, and then at least at the moment, all under the same roof. I guess how does your perception on the building on Cafe Piro grow? Like, what does it become now more than just a restaurant? Because I don't want to just boil it down to a workshop place. What do you feel is the mission behind these two things put together? Is it driven towards Socorro? You know what I mean? Like, is that the mission of Cafe Piro whenever you get asked something like that?
Just to build community. And it's in different ways.
Yeah.
It can be more than just food. It can be with ceramic workshops. It can be with dinners. It can be through live music. And so we just wanted to be a gathering place where people come. And so that was one of the big pushes for changing the hours so that we could have that. And so it's really worked out.
Starts off as like food and then has just grown like to where food is just kind of becoming one of the surrounding pieces. There is no like centralized piece, if you will. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As more things start to like get built in.
Yeah,
we built it like a house.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you're coming over to the house and you get to hang out. And yeah, there's going to be some food too.
Did you grow up in Socorro?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like nearby. I mean, Socorro's not like a big place, so obviously it had to have been near. Do you remember what that building was when you were growing up?
It's always been a restaurant.
Okay.
Yes. So
let's talk about the history of it a little bit.
The place that is next to us is being rented out by someone else. It says Perfumeria on it, but that was the original builder's workshop. He had a cabinet workshop there. And he started there, and he built all the tables and chairs, the doors, the window panes, and eventually the restaurant, and just kind of in pieces. So it was small, and then he added and added and added. And it was a restaurant for maybe, in that family, about 30 years, 20 to 30 years. And then he sold it, and then there was other entities that tried to open it up. But I think they're just going in there, they probably saw all the obstacles with how old the appliances were, and they didn't want to go into that. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And so we saw all the different restaurants that went through there, and then we eventually moved back from the east side to Socorro. I was on the east side for a few years, and we're 400 feet away from the restaurant. And so when we open the window every morning, we see the restaurant there, and we started noticing that it looked like the restaurant was not being occupied anymore, and so we called the number. Yeah, and that's how we ended up there.
Heck yeah.
It was like a year before, or a year into the food truck, because that was our goal. We wanted a brick and mortar. We didn't want to be in the food truck.
The original goal though was probably to turn Casa del Humo into the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Right. Just like the
To have a
easy,
brick and
just the
mortar.
easy like seed to plant
Yeah.
essentially.
Right. Yeah. We already know what we're doing here. We can just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I'm sure you guys prepared as much as you can for the transition from truck to overhead, like just straight up building. But what was the biggest kick in the ass?
Not really.
Regardless, no, I'm sure. Like, okay, let me rephrase it. You prepped as much as you could, but what was the biggest kick in the ass amongst all of them? Like, what was the fucking oof shit? This fucked us up. We didn't even think we were gonna open because of it.
I think it was that you had to rely on other people to do the build out. You know, the hiring of the contractors, because we went through 3 or 4.
And you're not going through any El Paso stuff, right? You're going through like the city of Socorro.
No,
a lot
it
of this
was.
stuff?
Some of it is
Yeah.
through El Paso. Like Socorro doesn't have a health department, so they rely on El Paso for that.
Okay.
But other than that, like the permits, you have to have a permit with the city of Socorro.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was like one of the drives, especially when you have to hire people to do something that you don't know. I think that was one of the biggest drives for us to be like, we need to learn how to do this, you know? So even on the build out, there were things that we learned how to do, like putting our hands into sheetrock or putting walls up, you know, or there's these plastic panels that go in the kitchen to protect your walls, and we installed some of those. So there was just a lot of things that we had to learn on our own. But that was kind of a drive in itself, just to learn to do
The
it
kitchen
yourself.
equipment needed to get replaced, and
Yeah.
so that was. We learned it was very expensive, and since it came with equipment, but it was just so outdated and neglected, so it needed to all get replaced. And some of the stuff we kept the hood, but it needed to get updated, and so that wasn't cheap. All the infrastructure too. This man built it back in the 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
and he.
Old.
Yeah, it's old wiring, and you would hit a switch and it would turn on a light in the other room type of stuff. And so getting all of that squared away was a challenge.
Okay, so then going through a year of the restaurant, what are some examples of like expenses that you guys regularly are having to pay for?
Now?
That we wouldn't like, that or somebody outside of the restaurant business wouldn't even get. It'd be way better if you can give specific things that like only CAFE PIRO is having to like expense and stuff.
Wow.
Like, what are those things that like restaurants pay for like on the regular that we don't appreciate enough as like patrons?
Oh my God. I mean, taxes.
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 Being able to sell us a beer.
There's so many different taxes. You know, there's employer taxes and sales tax, and there's so many of them, and you don't even know when you go into business. Like, we just thought, in the food truck, you take money into this little box and then you put it in there, and then that's it, right? I mean, you pay some taxes, but it's very simple in the food truck. And with a restaurant, there's like so much paperwork that no one tells you about.
You guys pretty much like opened the floodgates of like logistics and all that stuff when it came to having like a building.
And different insurances, even because you're selling wine and beer, like there was just so much that went into it that we didn't really know yet.
What route have you guys chosen to go with like stuff like that? Like the insurance, for example. Do you guys just have like one person just covering it all? Is that the easiest way for like a business in general to kind of do that instead of splitting it all up?
Yeah.
Is it even like does anybody even split it up? Is that a thing?
Well, sometimes depends on what the business is.
Yeah, for sure.
There might be an agent that doesn't have coverage.
Yeah.
For that. But yeah, we have 2 separate agencies that we work with, and they're great. One of them is right down the street from us.
Hell yeah.
So keep it as local as we can.
The liquor license and the beer and liquor license, or is it the beer and wine license?
It's beer and wine.
Beer and wine.
But we
no longer have it because we switched to morning.
That's what I was about to ask. Okay. So that was one of those things that you guys like.
Yeah, we just we didn't know what we were doing at the beginning, so it was one of the at the beginning. I mean, now I'm like, I think I could open a restaurant and be so simple because I'd know how to do things. But when I was first doing it, I thought this is gonna be something that takes a long time. So I had never done anything, and that was like one of my projects because I'm behind the bar, so I had to learn how to file for it and go back and forth between El Paso and Socorro because, they don't have everything. And yeah, I did it very early on, and we were still doing the build out. We didn't know how long it was going to take. So there was you have this time period for the TABC that's 2 years, and so you pay for those 2 years, and it's expensive. And those 2 years, one of those years went with the build out, and then we had 1 year to serve. So we didn't really get the full, like, maximum potential that you could have gotten
Well,
out of a TABC.
Going back, could you have just simply waited before filing it? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes, totally.
We had also said we had been told that
It would take a while.
it might take longer because it was kind of the end of the pandemic, and so it could take a while. So you might as well apply now because it could take
And then it ended up
6,
being
8
fast as
months,
hell.
and then it was super quick, and it was like, oh darn, we can't even sell any of this stuff, and the restaurant is in pieces. So, yeah,
But you learn.
yeah.
And but yeah, that totally shifted once we did the mornings. We were like, we hit that 1 year mark. We're about to do we like renew our license? What do we keep doing? And I mean, we can still have wine. We just can't sell it. And
Something that's
What do you mean you can't? You just gotta like provide it like courtesy.
yeah,
like
Mhm.
yeah,
Like it's
or
for free.
BYOB.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For the how was I gonna frame that question for the 1 year? Oh, so the 1 year that you were able to sell, beer and wine,
Hmm.
was it worth it? Like, do you think it was like a thing for you guys, or do you think your restaurant you kind of realized it's
Just
not
kind of
really-
broke even.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
open only 3 days a week too. So,
So like beer and wine wasn't really the place.
it moved. It definitely moved. We would sell
Okay.
bottles every weekend. Like, people liked it, especially because we also the beer and well, more so the wine that we carried was very natural and organic. So
They were curious to get the
yes.
drinks.
Yeah, and like a lot of people don't drink organic, or not organic but natural wines in El Paso because there's not a lot of places that offer it. There's probably about like 3 or 4 restaurants that serve it. So yeah, that was also a fun thing to explain to people because they had never had wine that doesn't give them hangovers, you know. And so that was
What wine is that?
natural wine. It doesn't have any additives or extra sugars added. It's just the grape itself. And so when you're drinking the
feet?
wine,
From like the old women just stomping.
I don't
on
know
it?
if they do that still, but
That's funny, man. Um, the private dinners. Do you guys have a specific vision for those, or are those more for like for hire? Are you guys trying to create and curate events?
Yeah.
How do you guys vision your first ones going on? You've had how many?
Just
Or
one.
You just had a recent
We
one.
just had one on Saturday, the first
You
one.
call that the inaugural one for sure.
Sure. Well, it was a collaboration with Rosie's Daba, my friend Omar, Chef
Okay.
Omar from Rosie's Daba. But it was the first event that we've put on where it's paid in advance, ticketed seat. And so, yeah, it's our first one. And
The food was
it was
paired
great.
with certain drinks.
No.
Like specific drinks.
No, it was called Mirrors. And so we were mirroring each other's cultures.
Oh.
So, like, for instance, I had a curry mole, you know?
Is it Indian or?
Because they make Indian food, and
Okay.
so that's one of their ingredients, and so stuff like that. And we had everyone sitting across from each other, so they were mirroring the person across from them, and so it was lovely.
Dang.
Yeah, and so we want the private dinners to be an experience. The motivation behind it is a bunch of different things, not really food. It could be more. The seasons, or it could be the sunsets of El Paso. Who knows?
celebration.
Sure. But we want to be motivated by everything and anything.
You two are very calm, free spirited. You seem like you allow things to happen and enjoy what happened. But based on the first dinner that you held, what do you guys see that you want to like either improve on or maybe adjust to make it more of, I don't know, to grow on it? Like what did you guys what ideas did you guys have like immediately after? Because it sounded like it was a success.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to go deeper. Like curate playlists and maybe art that would pair with the food as well.
Drinks.
I've talked to friends about pairing food with their music, and making dishes that are inspired by a certain song.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's good, Gabe.
Thanks.
You got my brain gears going with you. I think I might have mentioned a little some, but how have the music perform? How is your guys' ability? Like, how has Cafe Piro allowed you guys to connect a little bit more to the artistic community, the creative community? It almost seems like it's just been a big invitation and just like a big portal for you guys to like really dive into
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Being at Casa del Humo, you guys were always attached
Mm.
to the Casa Ortiz area anyway, so you guys were already always just like surrounded by artists. But
Yes.
did this kind of like open that even more for you?
Oh yeah, very much
Definitely.
so. Like all our walls are decorated by artists that we met at Casa Ortiz. And so it's been really cool to form these connections. And then we've also formed family with them. So when you go into the restaurant, all the walls are adorned with local art. And they're all local borderland artists and they're all our friends. And we take no commission, so they decorate our walls for free and they sell their art there for free. And so we've been able to connect that way. And then musically, well, we've also met some people at Casa Ortiz, and then we've met new people who travel in from out of town that we saw at other local places. And so it's been really cool to see all forms of art come through there.
You know how earlier you were saying, for example, whatever Full Circle has, that's what you're gonna kind of work with.
Mm-hmm.
When you do get that, like whatever they have though, how do you work with that? Like, do you look things up, or do you kind of already have a pretty good understanding of what ingredients goes together on like a scientific level? Not so scientific, but like, oh, this is a whatever base, you know what I mean? So it's probably gonna go good with this regardless. Like, are you kind of that fancy with it, or
No.
like where do you get your creativity and ideas from in order to like put different ingredients together that you don't know you're gonna get that day?
I just. It comes to me.
Okay. They speak to you in a dream.
Yeah, I mean, she's pretty consistent, and we don't have.
Not just them too, but like just in general.
In general, I mean, you can make a mole out of just about anything, you know. So that's always on the back burner, where I can make a mole
Have
out
you
of
ever
it.
just made a plate where you're like, damn, that was kind of mid. I'm not down.
He's kind of hard on himself.
Yeah. Are you okay? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I just, get the ingredients, and sometimes I'll just look at it, and sometimes it looks like something else, and I'm like, okay, how can I put that idea on the plate?
Yeah. If it doesn't work the first time, do you tweak it?
Sure.
Or do you know it's a goner at first? You're like, nah, dude, like that's not gonna work out.
Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends on what the item is, like maybe you can't freeze certain things because of how much water it holds,
Can't
and
smoke
so
everything.
can't smoke everything, but I do take different turns of smoking stuff outside in the smoker. But yeah, it's just kind of like that, and when we first opened it, we were just kind of joking around, like we were like the SNL of the restaurants, like you get the ingredients on one day and you have a week to put on a show, and so by the weekend you have to be ready to put this out, type of deal. And so that's why we were only open those 3 days, because I did need that amount of time so that I could really think about this and prep, especially since we have such a small team.
Yeah. That concept though, like getting the ingredients just like at the beginning of the week and having to figure it out, I feel like that is perfect for the private dinners. Like just that concept just sounds like, oh man, okay, cool. Because you want it to be a regular thing. Are you guys looking at this being on a consistent frequency, like monthly dinners?
We'll try. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do.
So are you shooting
once
for
a
one
month?
next month as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already have the details on it? Can we drop it here or what? No, well, this is gonna come out later anyway, so it'll probably come out after you announce it, so you can say it. I'm just kidding, but I'm excited to see it.
He gets upset with me because I already know, and I'm like telling everybody. He's like, please stop,
Spoiling?
please stop
Spoiling
telling
it?
people my ideas.
I have let me ask you guys. Okay, we're in El Paso. We're in Socorro. These private dinners. What was the ticket price for the last one? For this past one?
80.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys go about selling an $80 ticket here in El Paso? Because on the music end of things, we want to try to accomplish that. We want to try to, put together a big enough experience to justify like a $40, $50 ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But what have been the hurdles that you guys have had in your experiences with maybe high-priced ticket items or high-priced events? Like, how do you guys get around that? Like, what do you guys do to
You have to have time.
navigate it?
You have to have time to post it. We always do like a 2 week, like beforehand to
That's
post
just
it.
like bare minimum fee.
Yeah, and that's even with the workshops, but like with the dinners too. I don't know. There's something about food that sells, right? You know, food sells.
Mm. It's not just food. We want to sell an experience, you know. So it's not just coming in, sitting down, regular plates. You know, they're plates that Melissa made with her hands that we are serving on tables that we stained with natural foods, and the music that you're listening to, and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And the story behind each dish. I try to put as much intention behind it. When we did have dinner, she was real excited to talk about the stories behind each one. If anyone had any questions, she would stand there and give them the whole history. And so I think just that extra effort of putting intention into it, you know, it's not just something that you found in a cookbook and you're remaking it. There's more to it when you come in.
And then also the collaborating, you know, there's like this like coming together. And so we're very lucky that a lot of the people who did come to both dinners, because there were 2 time slots, like half of the people at each one we knew. They were either regulars from the food truck, they were regulars of Rosie's, they were regulars of CAFE PIRO. And then the other half was like their family that came to support. So it's just like we're lucky to have those people who support you. And I'm sure you see that in the music industry too, right? There's people that are there at all your events to hear you. And,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like consistent faces and everything. This isn't the first time though. I mean, under Cafe Piro, it's the first event, but I think with Casa del Humo, you guys have had events as well, right? Curated dinners?
Not curated dinners.
We catered.
We did caterings. We put on events like the one for Dia de los Muertos.
I think there was one that you guys had at Moonlight one time.
No.
Just a dinner. We catered a dinner.
We can edit that one out.
When I'm trying to punch myself in like nice and clean. No,
we did a cigar dinner with Nico at, not cigar dinner, but just we had cigars with our food at Casa Ortiz. We did that, and he brought in a cigar roller from Dominican Republic, and he was rolling cigars there in the spot. That was really cool.
Yeah. When you guys sold the tickets for the event, was it one of those things that the tickets sold pretty nice and quick, or what, did you guys were like...
For this past one on Saturday, always sold out pretty quickly.
Yeah?
Yes.
Man. Because, I feel like that's a challenge a lot in the creative community. A lot of the time, the biggest challenge would be having to rely on, like, things being sold at the door. And I think a big reason why I was asking you that earlier, just right now, about high-ticket price items, because the last time I threw an event, I just felt like, even without people saying anything, I was already doubting myself in my head, thinking, like, what else do I have to throw in here to like justify the $20? You know what I mean? Like what else is gonna make it worth $20? $20, and like when that was me thinking from the mind of like what I felt was like the perceived like the community opinion, but then in my head when I would like jump back into my opinion, I was thinking, damn, what more like do you need? You know what I mean?
For $20.
So it was one of those challenges that I feel anybody who's trying to have a high ticket thing is probably facing as well. But you're right, that food, like, just there's something about like knowing that you're gonna get multiple courses. The dinner was mirrored, so I'm assuming it's one for one each time. Was it 3 courses, 6 total, or how many was it?
It was 5. I took 2. Chef Omar took 2, and then his wife wanted to do a dessert, and so she jumped in at the end with a dessert.
Okay, yeah. And then okay, yeah. That's a big hurdle. And like when I'm thinking of events, especially like in the near future, one of the biggest centerpieces I wanted to do was try to go ahead and have curate like a really good what's the word, a menu. I wanted to go ahead and like present it like that, similar to the way you were explaining how like you kind of have it inspired by the way I had been thinking about it. Wasn't necessarily a song, it was more just like the artist's like genre as a whole. So it's a little bit more vague. It allowed for more room to like kind of just have like a general idea of the dish. Sure. But that was the first thing I gravitated towards when it came to thinking like how to justify like just a better experience. And I feel like getting fed and getting presented with something for you to consume is one of those like just, I don't know, it just feels like one of the most intimate things.
You are totally consuming music.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that's harder to sell, like for some reason, like I guess. I guess because you could just stream it 1,000 times a day whenever you want.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever reason it is that they get differently valued, but it's not to say one's more valuable than the other. It's just how can we value like all these creations and all these events the same way?
Well, that's like fast food restaurants with us. You know, like people are just downloading their food in the drive-through. But you know, putting their heart and soul into it, I think people really appreciate that.
Do you never eat fast food?
No.
You guys don't eat fast food?
No, we do.
Okay. I just
we-
wanted to know. Do you ever, you get some like wings at Alamo and shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a
we-
pizza or
We'll
something?
get some food at the theater.
Okay.
We have the Pats.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta enjoy like some good sloppy
Yeah,
food, right?
We eat burgers.
Yeah, everything in moderation. But there's you have to, because food like that, food from fast food restaurants are so filled with preservatives and other things that we can't even pronounce. So if you're eating that on the regular, then you know, what are you really consuming? So
Why'd
That's
you
just-
sink in, Groovy?
I'm just getting cozy. That's all. I'm just getting cozy. I eat a lot of fast food, and I try to outwork it, but the famous quote is you can't outwork a bad diet. So it's just like, damn. At some point, I do want to clean up. Like, I definitely want to, like, I don't want to say it at some point, like hopefully, like, in 5 years, I'll clean up. But I definitely want to, like, slowly become more in control of the things that I'm eating, you know? My algorithm already taught me myself. I didn't even ask. Like, they just started showing food shit, and it was just curious enough for me to watch.
yeah.
And once you spend 10 seconds on a video, Instagram's going to feed you the rest of that shit the rest of the way. So
Yeah.
now it's just flooded in my thing. So I see a lot of cooking stuff, but
It's across the board, you know. It's not just what you eat, just like more what do you consume.
yeah.
You are what you eat. You are what you consume. So what are you feeding your eyes? What are you feeding your ears? You know, what sounds are you listening to constantly? So in that same moderation, you have food as well.
Yeah, aside from the kitchen, like, how else do you guys appreciate, you know, your guys' body and mind? Do you guys, because you guys were telling me that you guys go to the movies often, so you guys will go and consume a lot of, like, film. But are there things that, like, a lot of us as society are into that you guys kind of tend to stay away from? I'd assume, you know, like, you guys aren't really the most, like, big on social media. You're there, you're present, but you're not, like,
I don't-
fiends and shit up on there.
You have to kind of stop yourself. I mean, it's totally like it's in the palm of your hand. It's kind of addicting, right? It's easy to
Imagine if the device got
scroll and
like
scroll.
taken away and your hands were still in that position. Like, look at how you look. Like, you look like a fiend, bro. You know what I
a
mean?
little goblin.
Yeah, dude, your hands all tucked in and shit. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we
Does
Our
let me-
money goes-
Let me frame the
sorry.
question real
Yeah.
quick. Let me frame it better. Has like your guys' journey through culinary like also just like has this fueled your guys' journey through kind of like just being overall like kind of conscious and wanting to like just live a chill, healthier life?
yeah.
Or is it the other way around? Having already that mindset kind of really helped fuel the success of this restaurant.
No, it was totally the other way around. I think it like always stems with like how you grew up, right? So, I mean, I grew up with like 3 different kinds of dynamic with food, and so now I'm able to like change that relationship with food that I have, and it totally like leads my life towards another way. So like I read more books now. We do go watch movies. We love film. Our money goes towards like food and music, and so we really like to go. Like we go see concerts wherever we can go see them. So
You do yoga.
and we do yoga. We even offer it at the cafe for the employees, and we're
As
about
part of their
to-
health and
yeah.
wellness package.
How so? Like you guys have like
Well,
they could just join you in on like a morning session or
No.
something?
monthly. We host a monthly session.
We all go
for-
out
Or just a
for
squad?
the
Mhm.
employees, and
Okay.
so you know, instead of taking pills to de-stress, you know,
Mhm, yeah.
come and
do a
But
yoga.
dog walker.
come and do
Yeah.
sure, you know, like
Walk with the dog.
your prescription is go take a walk at the bosque, you know,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and then the ceramics too, you know, we teach them ceramics, so
therapeutic.
it's a life skill, and they get to come and unplug and just be one with the clay, and so that's part of it as well.
And then like any experience, any like little time that we get, we're always learning how to do something else. You know?
What's your current like your level 0, level 1 beginner at right now?
for clay?
Just anything. No, like what's your is it clay? Like is it like a new element of clay that you're like beginning at or
Yeah, we actually just recently finished our session at David B80's Pottery Studio where we learned how to use the wheel. Because we're
You've never done a wheel this up to now?
we had like messed around but not really like learned the method
bit.
of it.
I thought that was the only way to do it.
No, we hand
No,
build everything. So
everything's just
everything we do. Like our plates are like rolled out like tortillas. Like
Yeah.
you roll out. And so we build everything with our hands. But with the wheel, you're using the wheel, and the piece of clay is like you start molding it, and
Yeah.
so a piece can be done like in, if once you get the method of it, a piece can be done in like
minutes.
5 minutes.
This is
Even
with
less
the
than
wheel.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
In hand building, you take like 45 minutes to an hour to create one
Just
thing.
fucking hands all
So
cramped.
when you go to the cafe
No.
and you drink a mug, that mug took like an hour to build, like versus on a wheel, it can take minutes. And so,
That's one thing that people don't. That's specific. You had
Yeah.
asked that question, like what's specific to Cafe Piro that they don't know a lot of times.
It's
that,
not even the
like,
cost, it's more of like the time, and
time,
like
Yeah.
handwork.
Yeah, it
took
takes
to
a
do
month pretty much to make that one vessel.
and so, yeah, we just finished
That's-
doing the ceramic
Word.
workshop, and we loved it. We love any form of clay, but I think we're always gonna go back to hand building. And
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm a beginner on the wheel, even though I just took like a 12-week course.
Mhm.
Landlords,
Landlord.
maybe beginners at that.
We're new.
We are beginners.
Do you guys
landlords.
feel more comfortable throughout this process because of like the freaking marathon that Cafe Piro was?
No.
No, it's still its own freaking.
like
Yeah.
baby bits? Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I guess when we have to do any type of maintenance, we kind of have a little bit of experience with that.
you know how
you know,
crazy it can
when
get. Yeah.
Contractors, but it's like a total different thing. Yeah, being
forming contracts and getting different
and then
insurances.
the plan is to have a nonprofit so we can have a cultural center there, and so I'll be doing grant writing. I've only done a little bit of that, so
My boy, grant writing.
You're like, hey, best friend.
Yeah.
We've been talking about grant writing a lot
Yeah.
lately. It's
So-
everywhere, man.
and I'm
Grant
getting my
writing.
real estate license too, so
Yeah?
I'm budding in that too. Yeah, so I'm still at ground zero there too.
Man, nice. Are these the things that you were saying that you were just like getting into
Yes.
earlier? You remember? Okay.
Yes, yeah,
We're
like
back, we're back.
yeah. So Plaza Piro is across the street from us. That's where we've been renting up
Oh,
until
nice. What a good
till
name.
June 1st.
Yeah.
And so that's where the clay studio is already. We were just renting. Now we own it, and so we have the kiln in there already. We have our tables, and that's where, like Mel was saying,
Yeah.
we go in there and we do the glazing, we do the firing.
The workshops are gonna move over there now, or once it's like good to go.
Yeah.
Once, yeah.
Yeah, but that'll take a bit.
It's a goal for sure.
Yeah,
You'll have more room in there.
Yes.
You could have way
Definitely.
more occupants.
definitely. Yes.
And it's definitely more like a workspace right now at the cafe. It's very controlled to what we can do, because you don't want to be in an enclosed space when you're working with clay, because clay isn't as natural as it used to be. It's not like barro,
Oh, okay. So you're like inhaling some
it's
stuff.
not like earthware. Like this is more stoneware. It has little tiny particles of glass. So we have to clean very vigorously. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a different process. At the studio, it's very open air space. We can have we can play a lot more in there.
They're across the street.
Right.
Yes. Mhm.
But is there any opportunities for you guys to combine the two, like at the same time? Like there's a workshop going on, but like an employee, like a couple employees are like still able to serve drinks if they're ordering. You know what I mean? Like, is that possible? Is that
like
something you guys thought
deliver
about?
across the street?
Yeah, like is that too weird?
Why not? No, I mean.
Or
why
maybe
not?
like a little mobile mini little cafe part of it just gets extended into the
Or a
workshop.
tunnel where
Okay, yeah.
they can walk across.
Fuck it. If that's the way you
I
go.
mean, I had thrown an idea out where we could have a bar across the street where people could wait and have a cocktail while their table opens up. But we're not doing dinner anymore.
Yeah, I feel you. Just trying to see if maybe there was like some thoughts on how they can maybe operate at the same time. But do you guys kind of see this as like they're just sort of one's off, one's on? They're never on at the same time, sort of thing. Because you guys, I
No.
mean, you guys are like,
No, we want to have both going at the same time. We just need to get there with employees, of course.
what's the inspiration for real estate? How'd you get the inspiration for that?
Well, because we knew we were going to be landlords, and so
Okay.
I mean, why am I going to pay someone else to do it? I'll just learn it myself.
Really?
In the spirit of all the other things that we're teaching ourselves, so
Man.
why not?
This like was one of his like main sayings when we were building the cafe out. It was like, it always made me laugh, but it also infuriated me, because he'd be like, "Let's just build it," and I'm like, "Bro, we can't build everything." He's like, "Yes, you can." So that was like his thing, and now I'm like, yeah, I can make that.
Like, why go buy plates? We can just make them, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
'Cause then-
IKEA? No.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like easy going right now, but during the whole process, we were totally like pulling at each other's hair and.
I don't have any hair.
If could you open up a second Cafe Piro super easy this time around now?
We wouldn't open
there would
it.
never
I'm
be.
not saying like not like that, but like you guys feel like you learned enough to like it's stuck with you sort of thing. Like there's no
Yeah.
way you could forget that shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Man.
A year and a half.
You learn
Hell
from your
yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you guys before the interview I wanted to ask a little bit about and I mean maybe this is a short topic, but I feel like maybe it opens up some good conversation about what are some of the challenges about like owning a business but also being a married couple, you know? Like uh I was saying earlier the best example I could have put is like the work stress and all that shit like still goes home, like it's the same
Yeah.
thing, you share that all together.
Mm.
What would have like even since Casa del Humo, what have been some of the challenges that you guys that think like are trying to overcome or have overcome along this whole like time together, professionally too?
Well, I mean, I think it's good for people to know these type of things because when we went into it, we didn't know any of it, and so we wish that there were friends that kind of like not would have warned you, but just would have been like, you're gonna go through these like areas where you're just like, I want to leave you, but not in a like very permanent way, but it's just like I need to leave right now, you know. But
I need to leave or I'll murder you.
but I
You can
mean,
say that. It's okay.
we're in each other's space all the time, so we had to like learn how to navigate that. Now it was kind of forced, you know. Before we just we naturally we're best friends. We love to be around each other all the time. We like a lot of the same things. So, but now it's like there's this form of professionalism that you kind of have to. When we're at work, we have to learn that stays at work, and when we go home, we are on our off time, and home is home. And so we talk about the things that matter at home. So we had to like separate those two. And Gabe honestly brought that up because we would go home and I'd still be talking till like 2 a.m. where I'd be like in bed. I'd be like, hey, we need to get heavy whipping cream for tomorrow, you know, like, and he'd be like, I just want to go to bed, like. And so we had to learn how to separate those things because we're married,
Yeah.
and there still needs to be that romance, and there still needs to be this relationship where we really do enjoy each other outside of like this business relationship. And it's been something to learn, but it's definitely like made us stronger for sure. I'm like, I love you, but then like I want to squeeze his face really hard.
How do you guys find time? So most of the time, people usually not everyone's an entrepreneur. Not everyone has their own business. So a lot of people just have what might even like from an entrepreneur side, it might be seen as a luxury to be able to just forget about work the moment you get the fuck out. You know, as an entrepreneur though, you don't get to do that. So you were just saying how you guys have had to learn to shut off work. I assume it's just a bit though.
We're
Like
still we're still
like,
navigating.
how do you guys still find time? Like what is that balance? Because
We call it entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship.
like is it like right after work you just like try to wrap up some stuff on your own time together real quick and then completely shut off, or does it actually like blend all the way till the night? It's just managed a little bit better.
It just depends. Like if we have to run a few errands after we close down, you know, maybe we were low on something. So unfortunately, yeah, we got to make a run to the store. And sometimes that can take a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And and we go home. And once we're home, you know, then it's like, okay, you know, we don't have to do anything else work related. So we're at home.
As individuals, do you guys, well, also and as a relationship, as a couple, do you guys have non-negotiables? Like, are there things that Cafe Piro does not get in the way of? Like, do you guys do yoga at the same time every day or something? And like, the restaurant will never get in the way of like your morning routines together or some shit like that.
We're barely learning routines, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
Now we're shifting our sleep.
Mhm.
And so,
Also,
well, because now we're open in the morning. So
we wake up with the sun now.
are you people that like sleep 10 hours, or are you guys
Not me.
are you guys shifting like just a 6 hour thing or something like
We're
that?
very different when it comes like he could sleep like 3-4 hours and I need 6 to 8 hours.
Are you a nap taker?
No.
Are you?
No, I
Yes.
just have ADHD.
I love
Do you think people who take naps are weak-minded? No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding.
I'm like he used to, but then he just said
I
yes
take
right
a
away.
fuckload of naps. dude.
Yes.
Yeah, I
take
love naps.
I call them kush comas.
I have to, it's the only way you focus.
So we can't go to bed as late as we used to. So we're still getting acclimated to that. But yeah, that's just the way it rolls. We sometimes we have to put the cafe first. We have
Yeah.
to sacrifice stuff,
Yeah,
and it's tough. But we know that one day it'll come back.
Even when
and
we go
we'll
on
have
vacation,
that free time.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Even when we go on vacation, we're like, oh, we're gonna go to that place. Maybe we can hit up that business, the Costco Business Center.
We'll be in
We're already
Phoenix.
including it wherever we go. We just want to make sure.
Entrepreneurship is a gift and a curse.
Entrepreneurship, yeah.
I've been saying that like the biggest thing I like about it that I feel people sleep on is I feel like it brings my life in harmony a bit because of the same thing that I just said right now. There's people who could just shut off the moment they clock out of work, but like that feels like you're just living your life in sections away in a way. You know? But when you have your own business or when you're like working towards something, even if there's like a job that's taking you there, I feel like when you're in that mode, you're allowing for yourself to just like every decision all works together. You're not living separate parts of life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we see it like it's our baby. It's a life form.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, you got to
just the same way. Yeah, you wouldn't do that for a pet or your child. Like you're there constantly. It's a never-ending thing. So it's just kind of
Compartmentalizing.
Yeah. That just like, okay, we have this much time and I think I'm good, and so we can go watch a movie or go for a walk.
It all has to flow, and then him and I have to be good for the business to be good because we run it together, so all of that comes hand in hand. And so we have to, the cafe is our baby. When people come in, we're like, están en su casa, and we really do mean it. It's our house. It is our house.
Hey, you're arguably in it more than you are in the home.
Yes.
In the crib.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Even on our off days, we're there.
Yeah,
I'll be there tonight after we leave here.
You're gonna go back?
Yes. Yeah, we open tomorrow.
That's why I said it.
No, I'm not joking.
Yes.
I'll be there. But
I believe.
But it's great that it's down the street from us, so I can be there late and not feel like, oh man, I still have to drive across town. I can just walk home if I want.
Do you feel like you'd have that same appreciation for Cafe Piro if it wasn't right down the street?
I don't think I would have opened Cafe Piro unless it was down the street. So
you weren't even looking elsewhere at all?
No.
Only Socorro.
It was either that or the road, just
that's...
hitching up the smoker and hitting the road and just popping up across the country.
Casa del Humo, though?
Casa del Humo, yes.
Well, before that, was your did you always have an entrepreneurial spirit, or before Casa del Humo were you just working a career job sort of thing? What was before
so before Casa del Humo it was El Paso's Worst, but that was back
oh yeah, you were telling me about it. You told me about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I did that for about 5-6 years. I went back to corporate for benefits and did that for a few years, but the pandemic hit, and that was really an eye-opener. And so I knew, there's no way I can go back to that.
So majority of the time you've been leaning towards just always kind of on your own.
Yeah, just doing it
Are you a good employee?
Nah.
I got called insubordinate as an employee. I wonder if you were subordinate.
I mean, there's so many things that don't make sense when you enter the corporate world. I'm like, what? This doesn't...
He always questioned everything.
So, yeah, I mean, in that sense, I guess I'm not a good employee because I go against the grain. But it's also, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And it was always the opposite. It's like, what is this? No matter what job I was in. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it on my own.
Okay, so then after all these years of fucking hiccup after hiccup, curveball after curveball, you still think that you'd prefer this over corporate lifestyle?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
With that being said, what advice do you guys think is important to give? And it doesn't have to be to people that are in relationships entering restaurant, but people that have a passion for cooking and want to own a restaurant. What do you think's that wake up call that they're not ready for that you possibly could at least just maybe mention? Nobody's saying you got to advise nobody, or nobody's giving you that responsibility or anything, but what's that wake up call that a chef who's just kind of loves cooking that might realize fuck, that's a whack. Somebody told me one time, I asked him, yo, what's it like working at GameStop? And he told me, if you like playing video games, don't work at a GameStop.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? How many moments, if any, were you I fucking hate culinary now? You know what I mean? If any, like I said.
You have to have a set menu.
Yeah. I think that, and that's kind of like why we killed the dinner portion of it, because it was getting too repetitive, and that's not really what I want to do.
You treat this as an art form.
Right. So like,
Once you get into a routine on that.
Yeah, you wouldn't paint the same picture over and over again. Like just like singing the same song over and over would be the same feeling, I would imagine. And so, I was getting bored. And there's so many ideas that I couldn't implement. And so that's why we went to mornings. And now we can have these dinners, and I can really express all these ideas that I have for food.
If there's ever ideas, and I think I already know the answer, but if there's ever ideas for when, like, that might be more suited for evening, when the time comes, you'll just change the season back to evenings? Is that like the beauty of Cafe Piro? You guys just have the power to switch off? Or are you guys really going to soak in this morning schedule for right now?
I think it's just going to be that.
I know we're only 1
the,
month in.
The private dinners. Yeah. Because like how Mel had said, it's very controlled. We know exactly how much to buy. We know who's coming, how many people are coming.
Yeah.
And so minimizing waste is massive for us. Like that's way up there on the top priorities. And we couldn't do that when we had this set menu for the evenings. And so now we can control that, and then also the ideas and the themes, and it doesn't just have to be revolving around this same menu, like how we had this collaboration with Rosie's. The next dinner can be totally different.
As eaters, people who eat, humans, do you guys find yourselves being the type to go out, get your own ingredients for the crib, make your own food, or do you take those opportunities to go try other people's food? What do you guys think you do more often?
We do both.
Yeah.
It's pretty 50-50?
Oh, yeah. I'm always like, whenever I post on social media, I'm always like, hay comida en la casa.
Who? What?
Hay comida en la casa. Like, there's food at home.
Yeah.
You just gotta make it, right? So it's like, usually it's Gabe over here.
Yeah.
Who cooks. I'm always like, we should go out. But yeah, we do both because we want to support local too. So we hit up local spots. Yeah, we like to do both. That's the only way that you open your mind, right? You're gonna like explore different foods.
Do you guys have favorites, or do you guys try to like look for a new spot? Because if you look for a new spot, how do you guys keep up to date with the community yourselves? Are you guys like reading newspapers, watching news, watching FitFam? Like,
I think it's a lot of social media, right? I mean, nowadays, but sometimes we do venture out and we'll just like go to a spot that we've never gone to before.
Word of mouth, friends tell us that, have you tried this place?
I would imagine being like just in that space, you're just hearing all that sort of communication, all that talk.
Yeah. If you tell us like, hey, I went to this spot, like we're one of those people that are gonna go. Like,
Hamburger Inn number 2.
You told us, we're gonna go.
Let's go try.
Where?
Hamburger Inn number 2.
Hamburger Inn number 2.
Yeah.
I think we've been there.
It's Lower Valley's pride.
Yeah.
Take you guys there.
Let's do it.
Super burger together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or tacos de cebrada.
Okay.
Oh yeah. A la mexicana.
Alrighty.
Hell yeah, man.
Can I go back to the question where you said if we had any advice? Because we kind of...
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, hell yeah.
I think that you should just go with your gut. Like, I know that that's such a cliche thing to say, but that's all we've done as far as with the cafe. And we really, like, even though there's, like, these bumps on the road, we're happy. Like, we're happy because we're truly doing what we really want to do. And there are things, I mean, everybody has to have a side hustle going on nowadays, but we were able to open, like, the cafe the morning is to bring some profit in. And then we're able to do, like, everything else that we enjoy. I still enjoy making coffee, but we at least get to, mesh them in. You have to make money, but I would say, like, really do the thing that makes you happy.
Yeah, every decision's in harmony with each other, you know what I'm saying? But with you saying that to go with your gut, are you also saying, like, nobody's saying you got to go open up a freaking restaurant the first day?
Yeah, no way. Like, I mean, we took steps to get there, right?
Yeah,
we didn't just
course.
open a restaurant, but I guess, like, maybe if I were to elaborate a little more on that, then I'd say, like, don't go with what society is telling you to do. And so people are constantly in this form where they feel like they have to do what everybody else is doing, or have a set menu, to, like, attract people because they're like, oh, I like that one thing that one day, like, hopefully I can get it next week. And that's not the way it works, right? At least with us. sometimes we'll stay consistent with certain things, especially now with breakfast, but things change.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to just like say, oh well, like we're just gonna see what happens if we put this thing. And most of the time people respond to it very well, because people get bored.
And
get bored.
I think it's really rare that people like really just do what they want to do. I think we see some bits of that a lot, but I think we just see presentations of it, and deep down, so I think it is actually really, it's a lot rarer than we believe for somebody to really like kind of follow through with what they're doing. And so at the end of the day, I think it's always well respected, because it really is hard to do. Like, it's really hard to commit to a plan and see it to like certain extents. Everybody can go ahead and start whipping up a couple drinks and open up a shop, and that's not to like go ahead and like downplay anybody who's at that stage right now, but it's just saying that's like one of the first stages. The stage that you guys are at is one of the latter ones, man. You guys are still like trying to figure it out, so it's just like it's a never-ending process. And if you could be still learning so late in the game, why are you trying to have it so figured out on day one?
We still are. I mean, there were times where we had dinner service and we had about like 2 people come in. Like, if we're gonna be completely honest about,
is that a big shot in you guys' like pride? You know what I'm saying?
For
like
Gabe, I think it was just like a matter of like we're needing to survive, right? But I would watch him, and he's my partner, so I would watch him put a menu together, and then like nobody show up, and it was like very just like, it would stab my heart a little bit, and I'd be like, why don't people show up for his food? And it was one of those things that definitely like, it hurt me like so bad. But Gabe was just, he's been in the industry so long, so it's easier for him to just like move on and be like, all right, next thing, here we go. And
it's more like a ebbs and flows outlook in a way. Has it always been like that?
Yeah.
For really?
Sure.
For really?
You just got to learn, just ride the wave, It's not going to be like that forever. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of the life that you have to accept if you're going to be in.
It will be like that forever if you don't make adjustments.
Sure.
So as long as you make adjustments.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out.
So learning from your mistakes, knowing when to tap out if you need to, look to mentors for advice, Sure.
Do you have mentors? Do you have like somebody that like helped you come up?
Just friends, like just meeting people. Not necessarily that I go to one person in particular, but I think the friendships that we make, we pick up from that, and so it's not one mentor, it's just a group of friends that you flow with and that you vibe, and you learn different things. A lot of them are artists, and so we share a lot of those same ebbs and flows and pitfalls and trends, where sometimes art isn't moving, like what can I do different, what event can I throw, so it's a collective mentorship of all my friends.
I think that's good. I love the artist and creators mindset. I feel like it's just a lot more stable than just like mindsets that aren't so gray area. It's like either, black or white. I'm either at work or I'm not. It's either Friday, Sunday, and Saturday, or it's Monday through Thursday. You know what I mean? It's just this or that, this or that. But when you're either owning your own business or having to like start a project or have a side hustle that's in its earliest stage, a lot of it is just so gray and it can go anywhere, and it really takes a lot of resilience, and it takes a lot of like, what's the word?
Discipline.
Discipline and like a realistic nature. Because if you're not realistic about your goals, and you know what I mean. But I don't know. It's hard to balance out that, but also like I gotta reach for the stars at the same time. You know what I mean? Otherwise, somebody told me this quote. And they said, nobody's going to count your wins unless you do. So you got to have a little bit of that ego. You know what I'm saying? So, CAFE PIRO, Gabe and Mel. We were kind of like a little quiet right now about the next dinner. But outside of that, is there any announcements or plugs that you guys want to go ahead and share with the audience?
I'll be having 2 workshops a month now. So they'll be spaced out. One in the beginning of the month, one at the end, and that'll give people a chance to sign up, because we would only do it during the week because we were open on the weekends. So now I'll be having them during the weekend. So that should be fun.
Do you know the date of the very next one?
No, so they're very sporadic. This
already sold out
upcoming
for-
one is on July 6th, but let me
One
sure. Huh?
There's still one seat.
Yeah, I have like one seat left.
She has one
but,
seat open.
Okay.
The seating is limited because we do it on an intimate scale. So, yeah, it's the same thing with the dinners. Like they're very small, like 12 to 15 seats.
Every couple weeks, you said.
Every couple weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Like twice a month.
That July 6th one would be cool because then
Yeah.
this one I think is scheduled for the 17th to come out. So then that means like perfect time the next one.
For the next one. Yeah.
So every couple weeks, these workshops are going to be centered around ceramics
Yes, pottery, hand building.
at Cafe Piro.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the address? Where can they find Cafe Piro at?
9993 Socorro Road.
Socorro Road.
Mhm.
Socorro,
Right on the
Texas.
Mission Trail.
It's got a beautiful mural by Kristen on it.
Yes.
And then where can they find you guys online as well? On the socials, what's the username? Is it straight up Cafe Piro?
At Cafe Piro _.
It's gonna be all up on there.
Yes.
It's gonna be in the bios, the descriptions,
Thank you.
CGs in the video. It's time to walk some dogs. Real
Yeah.
quick. One dog walk, maybe two if you guys have the time.
Green screen.
Hey yo man. We got Gabe and Mel over here from Cafe Piro. Let's make some noise one more time. Yes, sir.
Copy.
Yeah, there's some claps right there. Thank you guys so much for coming through the HQ. I love
Thank you, Groovy.
the one time that I've been able to go to Cafe Piro, but I've loved every time I've also gone to Casa del Humo. You guys make great food, and every time that I've gone, I've always been able to like sit down and actually talk to you guys too. So that's cool. You don't always get to talk to the people that made your food because restaurants are always like so packed and shit with more
Right.
people. So
Yeah.
I like the inclusive and like the intimate space that you guys have set up. I wish you guys the best. I haven't had a chance to really catch up with you guys too much, so like I don't want to use the pod as an opportunity to do that. I would like to also do it outside of the podcast as well.
Yeah.
But I like that we were able to go ahead and use this as a chance to catch up because it has been a minute, honestly, and I lost a little bit of track of time, so I wasn't even aware that like a year had just passed. So congratulations
Thank
one
you.
more
Thank you.
time. Yeah. It took 18 months to get it started.
Yeah.
So we're about 5 more months away from like reaching that same time mark. All right. You guys are gonna have to celebrate that because 18 months is honestly a long time. I don't think people really put that into perspective. Like, you know, I'm sure other projects are like 6 month projects, 8 month projects and stuff.
Yeah.
1
It
year
can
at least,
be.
or like normally.
If we would have just left the chairs and tables alone. If we would have bought the, plates from,
Yeah, I feel you. But no, that
online.
would have taken away so much of like what is kind of like building right now.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you guys are playing it well, and I really like to learn from you too. I thought it was
Thank
great
you.
to hear some stuff because I don't really ever like have conversations where I'm intentionally trying to like learn. I'm just trying to like have fun and have good conversations.
Yeah.
You know, build on our friendship, but getting to learn about how you guys have processed building out a business where you guys took the steps of a truck to brick and mortar to landlord to building out other licenses so where you don't have to rely on like third parties or anything. I don't know. I find that fascinating. I think there's a lot of things that I want to take in control for ourselves as well.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to hear that like it can be done in a more like hostile environment like the restaurant industry because that shit sounds volatile as fuck. But one more time, guys, I just want to thank you guys for sharing some information about Cafe Piro, its history,
you.
your guys' history. I appreciate the time and all that. So let's do one more because I didn't close it off yet. I'm the only one hearing this, but the pod will hear it. But anyways, man.
Thank you.
Hey, yo, dog. That's what we do over here at the HQ. We have good conversation every Wednesday. So today we had Cafe Piro, Gabe and Mel. One more time, you know what it is. So if you guys can go ahead and show love on all of our channels. We have all of our full episodes on YouTube. You can also catch all the episodes on mfpearl.com. We have the entire archive right there. You can catch the podcast on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and of course, you can keep up to date with the latest announcements where we are most active on our Instagram at mfpearl. But that's how we'll do it for tonight, guys. For today, for this Wednesday, episode 21, Gabe and Mal, Cafe Piro, Volume 2. We'll see y'all next Wednesday live at MFHQ. Yep.